Graham did them, but never owned a car, but he was a great horseman.
Yeah.
The last horse he had, he bought it in '69 for a couple $100. In the mid-'80s, he sold it for a couple $100. So.
Wow.
And he always had lots of money because, as you know, having a vehicle is a huge expense.
Are we all good in here?
Sure.
Okay.
As we asked.
Okay, then we're going to start in 5, 4, 3.
I'll call this regular council meeting of the Village of Graham to order at 7:30 p.m. With us for prayer this evening is Pastor Dornan Sacro from the Seal Cove Baptist Church.
Let's bow our heads in prayer. Lord, it's your call to put people in authority, and it is our duty to pray for them. Today we pray, Lord, for these people. We pray for this council. We pray for all the discussions that will take place here, Lord. And we pray, Lord, that these discussions and the decisions that will be made are upon your righteousness. Lord, it's a difficult time, not just for every community, but for our world. And Lord, we need you so much. We need peace, we need stability, and we need harmony and love in this world. And we know, Lord, that all these things can be achieved just in one way, through Jesus Christ. So we pray all these things in his name for your glory. Amen.
Thank you. I don't have a lot for opening remarks tonight. I think most of what has happened. Thank you.
Fruitful discussion.
Thank you so much. I think most of what we have been focused on over the last probably month and a half since our last meeting is covered on the agenda. Mostly that would include the Anchorage Provincial Park and some of the discussions around the ferries. So I think it's probably better just to leave those to talk about in an open session, and then we'll go from there. With that, item number 4, disclosure of conflict of interest. Hearing none, I have 2 potential additions to the agenda. The first would be under new business. It's an application for donation from the Graham Teen Club. I put that at 14.6 if it's the wishes of the group. And the other one would be in closed session. It is a legal matter from our building inspector. So if we could put that at 18.3. He's going to zoom in for us when we get there, if that's the wishes of the group.
Madam Mayor, I make the motion to do the additions as you have requested.
You heard the motion from Councillor Sturgeon. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councillor Turner. Question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. I skipped around because I jumped over the adoption of the minutes, so we're just going to go back there now. We had the minutes of the regular council meeting of February 24th and then the special meeting of March 24th. Sorry about that.
So I move that we adopt those minutes.
You heard the motion from Councillor Valentine. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councillor Toll. Question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. We don't have an RCMP report this evening, so we will move down to old business. 9.1, the Graham Endowment Fund, request for donation from council. Councillor Ballantyne to discuss.
Thank you. Happy to talk about this. So the Grand Manan Endowment Fund, we've now raised $143,500, which means that we've met the first 2 fundraising goals that we had set for the clerks, which means that the clerks will be paying us or donating $140,000. And we're $3,500 into the third the third goal. So what I wanted to talk about tonight, when we had our special meeting in December, I talked about the endowment fund then, and I asked for a donation. And I think we agreed that the village would contribute $25,000, but we would break it into 2 payments. I needed, I think it was $12,300 to reach a particular milestone then. So a check was written for that amount, and it was suggested that I could get the rest at an appropriate time, which is now. So I'm asking for the other $12,700. And that's it.
Questions or comments from the group?
What's your deadline for raising this last money?
Well, we're ahead of schedule because we were supposed to raise the first 100 by April 1st and the first 40 by November 1st. And we've already done the, so we're ahead of schedule. The reason I want it now is it's hard to fundraise when you're starting from the bottom. So to say that we've raised $3,500 and we need $36,500 is more difficult than if I can say we're almost halfway there, which is what the 12.7 would do. So I'm happy to gallop through all of the deadlines as quickly as the first 2 have been met.
If I may add to that too, Madam Mayor.
Yep.
Is that this current administration is familiar with the work that's being involved and what's involved here. And in very short order, we may have a totally different one here as well. So it's, I think the time to work on this is now while people are familiar with it.
Councillor Turner?
Did we have any timeline? Like, I'm trying to recall this, but I don't. Like, did we say there was going to be any span between the 2? I just don't remember. I'm not questioning.
I think it was just at a time that made sense.
Okay.
I think we paid the initial allotment out of the 2025 budget because we had a surplus, and then that would leave the other part for this year's budget, was my recollection. So in order to write the check, it would be really good if we had a motion to do that. Heard the motion from Councillor Turner for the, what is the amount? 12. Yep. Heard the motion from Councillor Turner. Do we have a seconder? I'll second. Seconded by Councillor Valentine. Question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you. That is really good news that we're moving that quickly on this. 10-minute open session. Seeing no one running to the podium, we will move on to new business 14.1, UMNB optometry project. There was a letter in the package that I'm stalling till I get opened on my computer. They were looking for a letter of support to, thank you, because I apparently can't read on my computer. So I'm reaching out as the University of New Brunswick is seeking letters of support for the establishment of an optometry program at the St. John campus. The proposed program would be developed in partnership with the University of Waterloo and UNB's Integrated Health Initiative. The program would initially launch with 20 seats and would focus on building partnerships with rural communities for student practicums, helping to create a sustainable pipeline of optometry professionals. The New Brunswick Association of Optometrists are also supportive of seeing an optometry program start up in New Brunswick. So they're looking for a letter of support essentially from us saying that we would support an optometry program at UNBSJ. So questions or comments on the letter? Is that something we're interested in?
I
Councillor
think we
Baltar?
certainly would support the establishment of 20 seats in an optometry program in St. John. I think that would be fabulous. I know from working with the optometry suite at Coast Clinic that I'm told by the vice president of Vogue Optical, which has 105 stores in Atlantic Canada, that there is a serious shortage of optometrists. So anything that we can do to respond to that or alleviate that is a good thing.
Any other comments? Someone like to make a motion for a letter of support?
I will make a motion.
Heard the motion from Councillor Toll. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councillor Ballantyne. Question? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried. 14.2 is a Regional Service Commission update. So we'd agreed a while ago, I have been circulating the packages from the board meetings, and if there's something that I think directly pertains to us, I would bring it back here to report on. So I started a list, and apparently it kind of grew after the last meeting, so I apologize for the length of this. The first thing on the list was the draft wildfire report. That was a project that the RSC had done for the region as a whole. We received the Graham and Ann plan just before Easter, which I circulated by email. I had hoped to sit down with the fire department this month, but the chief is on vacation until the 26th, so it seems prudent to wait till he's back. I know the 26th puts us really close to the municipal election, and a potential different group of people sitting here, but I think it does make sense to sit down with the fire department to at least go over the recommendations and make sure that we're all on the same page, that there's nothing there that's alarming to them, and at least lay the groundwork for whoever's sitting here after May. So if that's the wishes of the group, maybe we can look at like I think he's back on the 26th of April, so maybe Wednesday or Thursday that week, just to get it in the end of the month. So I don't know if anybody's looked at the report. I've skimmed it and read the recommendations. It's 98 pages, so it's not light reading by any stretch, but
They get paid by the word.
every municipality got it, so the methodology section, I think, is the same from one place to the other, so it's the beginning and the end that's more tailored to us, that's more applicable. I just wanted to highlight as well, the Regional Service Commission had done a housing study back in 2022, and they're looking to update it in 2027, so that will be on the radar just for people coming up into the new year. I think at that point it would make sense to link them up with Rotary as they're starting to develop it, recognizing Rotary's doing their own housing study here on Graham and Ann, just to make sure we're not duplicating that. But I did want to flag that that was coming up. So last week, their new tourism director had emailed me in the evening, said I'm coming to Graham and Ann tomorrow. Because part of their funding is they have, you know those, I can't even talk about this, you know those things that you look out at, the viewers, like at the Empire State Building or somewhere like that you look through?
Look like a happy face.
Exactly. So the RSC has purchased 3 of them to install over the summer across the region. So they were looking at locations here. I haven't talked to him since he left, but he was going the length of the island, just kind of going back and forth. So they would install them like sometime May or June, take them out September, October, so they aren't facing a winter here. I know he was going to go look at Swallowtail as one of the potential places, or the Hole in the Wall. I was trying to come up with places that we had the property, which makes it a little bit easier permission-wise, so maybe back with something from him about potentially installing. But if it works, I think it's kind of a cool thing. If it doesn't, we don't know till we try. So, Councillor Green.
I thought, we were out to the Whistle last summer, and I thought, gee, I wonder where exactly, what's Maine, what's Campobello? And I mean, I'm from here, I should have had a better idea, and I didn't.
Yep.
I thought if you had something like that and something in front of it with an arrow saying that's that, it would just, it'd make it really come alive, mean
Yep.
something.
Yeah, I don't think there were a lot of money, so if they seem like they survived the summer, I mean, maybe it's something we want to look at getting a couple of ourselves down the road, so. But it seemed like a good chance. There was a suggestion at one point to put it on the back of the ferry, which would also be cool too. So anyway, we'll see where they end up, but. Yeah. So. But we were talking about, like, if it was at Hole in the Wall or the Whistle especially, like, you could be looking over at Campobello and back and forth, like, there's some real potential there. And then the last thing is the community development part of the RSC has started to organize a group to do like a resource fair expo essentially on Graham and Ann later on this year. And it would basically be different resource providers, whether they're from the mental health side, from public health, from finance, from homelessness, like any of the different service providers that provide services to the island, have them come and set up booths later on in the fall, and so people could come and see what the services are, how you could access some of them. They're going to do a pre-meeting with some of those providers, just because as they start going through them, the people on the island, some of us aren't always aware of what all those services are, just so we have a handle on what they are. They did this in St. Stephen a couple of years ago, and they said what they discovered the first time they did it was once they got there, people were like, oh, but what about so-and-so? Or, oh, we should have invited this group. So this, I think the pre-meeting kind of gives us an opportunity to identify any holes, and then hopefully come the fall, there'll be something a little bit more intensive. So those are just a few of my updates, and I'm sorry that was so long-winded, but it all sort of seemed to happen here March and April. So any questions or comments on any of that? Cool. Okay. 14.3, ferry cancellations. Proposed letter from Council to Coastal Transport. Councillor Green.
Yes, again today. You know, sometimes the ferry is canceled and we don't. Oh, thank you. It's hard to anticipate when it's going to be canceled, what the weather is. If it's mechanical, you can't predict that. But I drafted this, and I see I used the wrong word. It should have been mitigate, not mediate. I promise. You guys can forgive me for that. Not the typist. Okay, I'll just read this. Whereas cancellations of crossing is disruptive to many aspects of island life, including commerce, medical appointments, and travel arrangements, and whereas being aware of cancellations sooner rather than later can help to mitigate the impacts of these cancellations, therefore it be resolved, the Village of Grand Manan write a letter to Coastal Transport Limited requesting information regarding their policy for canceling trips, including regulations that may relate to wind strength, if the wind is a factor for different for each ferry, or is it the captain's sole discretion and responsibility for canceling trips? And how does Coastal Transport distribute news of cancellations to those that may be affected? And with a carbon copy to DOTI, the minister, and to our MLA.
Questions or
And
comments?
if anyone wants to add anything else in there, it wouldn't offend me, but those are the ones that popped up on the weekend for thought.
Questions or comments? Sorry,
I
what's-
just get the eyebrow.
Yeah,
I would like for us to push a little bit more on the communication part of that, like the decisions being made and the communication thereof. And I know you're asking about that, but I think it has to come from Coastal. I still don't understand why that responsibility is put on the village. It means it passes through one more set of ears and one more mouth or hands, and we've seen times where there are miscommunications, and I think if that same message is put on Voyant, on their telephone, and is communicated to the staff like this is the response or whatever, I think we would be much farther ahead. And I think the onus or just the responsibility would be where it should lie.
Councillor Green?
Yep, got it myself that time. Yeah, I was thinking that this would probably start the conversation with the new contract that's coming up between the province and the provider, that this could actually even be included in that this is their responsibility, but it's just to get it on the table and start talking about it.
Councillor Toll?
I think we should also maybe let people know more about the Voyant system and how to sign up for stuff, because I think they forget about it after a while if they haven't done it and they don't hear about it, and then they're mad because they missed it. But so maybe we should put something out there on our pages or something, even just saying, don't forget you can sign up these 3 ways, so you make sure that you get your notifications. I get them on 3 things. It's a little annoying, but I don't forget it.
And there was an issue, I think, with Voyant. Some people were having a few months ago that they weren't getting text. You're not getting text, but it's coming on the app or vice versa or something like that. So sometimes the three-way sign up it covers the bases, yeah. Anyone else, questions or comments on the letter? Okay, do we need a motion to send the letter?
I said be it resolved, so
Okay.
that is a motion.
So that's your motion, so I should technically have asked for a seconder before we all started talking. Sorry, I missed the be it resolved at the beginning. So do we have a seconder for that motion?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Deputy Mayor Greenlaw. So we've done the question. Are there any other questions? Sorry about that. My Robert's Rules of Order are flying out the window tonight. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. 14.4 is Department of Transportation, update on Grand Manan ferries, and then review of the Synergy contract. So in March, we had a call with the Minister of Transportation to talk about the need for a new ferry and really to talk about what the obstacles were, what the stumbling blocks were for him to move it from the concept that we've talked about to actually get money on the table to get things starting to move, essentially. And it has to go to Cabinet, is essentially where we are right now. They have to have their presentation ready to take into Cabinet to ask for the money to move forward. And so one of the things that we talked about during that meeting was all of the things that we talk about, the facts that we rattle off our heads because we understand what it means when all of the teams are traveling on a Saturday morning and the ferry's all booked up, or if the ferry is canceled, what that means for people with doctor's appointments and what the impact is on, you know, people shipping lobster and missing those contacts, all of those things that we talk about, but putting them into a more formal type of presentation so that when it goes to Cabinet, we don't have the opportunity to speak there, but it's our words and our story, and we're able to tell it. He's able to tell it on our behalf, and we've given him the tools to do that, which I think that makes a lot of sense, and it puts some of the control back for us to be able to tell our story instead of having it interpreted. So doing that, obviously, it would, for it to look, I'm going to rephrase that. We talked about going out and having somebody put this together for us. But we reached out to Synergy, who's already doing some economic development work for us on another project, thinking that they're here in the area, that they would probably be a more economical way forward versus going to a consulting firm and them coming in cold. So their price to do that is in this package, and it is, which I just lost because I had it in front of me, to do that would be $4,500. They charge us $50 an hour to a maximum of 90 hours to put this together. They talked about coming over. We thought it would be good if they sat down with some of the businesses on the island who maybe would be reluctant to share their financial information broadly, but if they were able to compile some of it so that it's more aggregated and harder to identify exactly where it's coming from, but to give an overall financial picture, talk about some of those things, and then put it together in a package for us. So that's in there. And then the other piece of this is our contract with Synergy, which I didn't realize is up later on this month. So they would roll that into the renewal of our contract if we so choose to go forward. So that was that. Those are the two things that are on the table to talk about. But before we leave that, I think for some of us, the eye-dropping thing was at the end of the call, the minister said, "So did you hear the good news? We're getting paved shoulders both sides of Route 776 when they repave, and one side of Ingalls Head." Yeah.
That's a big deal.
It's kind of a big deal. So, yeah, it kind of made that you have to go forward and put together a presentation about the ferry. It kind of smoothed that right over. And we were all really happy to go forward and do this. So, With that being said, I think the synergy thing is on the table. We can look at other options if that's the wishes of the group, but it just seemed like a good starting place for something to talk about. So I'll open it up for discussion at this point. Questions or comments, Councillor Sturgeon?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Madam Mayor, I did go through it all, and like you said, it's people that are very familiar with our needs, and I thought the price was more than reasonable, and I don't recall, of course, I haven't been here forever, but I don't recall ever before actually hiring professionals that know what to do, what the selling points, how to present a selling point. And I would think overall it would be, I think, a good deal for us to have people that know what they're doing and to, so plead our case. It's similar, I think my comrade beside me has heard the expression, anybody that has their own, acts as a lawyer on their own behalf has a fool for a client somewhere along that line. I'm not saying we were fools before or anything like that, but it's a similar situation. We're actually having somebody that's pleading our case and to the maximum effect. So I would think it would be a very good thing to move forward from here.
Councillor Green?
Yeah, I tend to agree with the councillor opposite there that things we take for granted, someone else understands. You've got to explain it to a different level. And if they're close enough to know some, but they're still remote enough to see it from that other perspective, it is probably a worthwhile investment.
Councillor Toll?
I was just wondering, is there a timeline to this for them to do this in cabinet, or is it like this year, next year?
Synergy, I think, had indicated they would try to have it done for us the end. I think they said the end of August, but
For
hoping,
us.
yeah.
And when would it probably make it to?
Then we would be able to turn it over to the minister like early fall, which would be in line for their budget discussions for 2027.
Thank you.
So, any other questions or comments? Councillor Sturgeon?
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion that we hire Synergy to look after both those contracts for us.
You heard the motion from Councillor Sturgeon. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councillor Toll. Question? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried. 14.3 is the Anchorage Park update.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, oh, sorry.
Our numbers are kind of similar. We're on 14.5.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
14.5 is the Anchorage Park. I am on the right topic, though. Okay. That's not always given either. So with the budget last month, there was a note of several provincial parks that were being considered for closure. There were 4 that were remaining open this summer for closure or divestiture in 2027, and one of those was the Anchorage. We sat down with the Boys and Girls Club a couple weeks ago just to talk about strategies, see what we could do to help and make sure that we're working together collaboratively. Cindy reached out to me by email last week. They are getting ready to do a mail out, talking about one of the things we talked about, which was, how people can get involved, sharing stories about the Anchorage, that sort of thing. They wondered, first of all, if we would include a letter from us that, indicated our support for this. I said I didn't think it would be a problem, but considering we hadn't actually talked at an official meeting, I am looking for some endorsement of that. And she was also hoping we'd be able to help with the postage, and I know we've done that for other groups in the past, and I think we could probably do that as well. So I don't know if there's any other comments. Nothing really earth-shattering as an update for me since the last time we talked about it, but just it is something that we need to keep our eye on, just given the timelines around this. Questions or comments? Councillor Sturgeon?
Yes, Madam Mayor, from what I understand, then really we need 2 motions then. First off, we would need a motion to have a letter from us in support of the Anchorage Park and how important it is to the community. And the other one would be to make a motion to pay for the postages that for any mailouts that the Boys and Girls Club want to do, requesting the same thing.
Yeah, I think you do them in one motion. I mean, it's pretty,
You okay? You
Yeah.
think so?
Yeah.
Okay. all
Yep.
right. Ready.
is that what you're doing?
That's exactly what I'm doing.
Okay. You heard the motion from Counselor Sturgeon. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second.
Seconded by Counselor Ballantyne. Question. All those in favor? Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Application for donation, Spring League basketball, and those are in our packages, I believe. I might share with you because I don't think I downloaded mine somehow. Okay, so there were two that were there. One for grade 2 to 4, and then another one for grades 5 to 12. We had adjusted our donation policy here a few meetings ago, for a maximum of 500 for one group. Not sure what the wishes of the group are, but I thought I'd put that out there for discussion. Questions, comments, Councillor Sturgeon?
One question, Madam Mayor.
Yep.
I believe also besides $500 as a maximum, wasn't there also a caveat that we couldn't be a sole, we weren't going to be the sole, it had to be for a maximum of 50% or $500, something along that
Something
line.
like that.
Yeah.
So, sorry, I was looking at the total funds required, not at the amount requested, so we can just not, that does change that, so, sorry.
I agree with Wayne. I think we
Yep.
had agreed that we would basically match what they were asking for.
Yep.
So half of what they were asking, we would donate half of what they're asking for.
Up to 50% of the total
Yep.
cost, yep.
Both of these numbers are under that.
Yep. So, wishes of the group, Councillor Green?
I would move that we honor both applications or requests for donations to the junior basketball program.
You heard the motion from Councillor Green. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Turner. Question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Motion carried. 14.7 is veterinary services. Letter of support regarding the cutting of veterinary services to rural areas. Deputy Mayor Greenlaw.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In the most recent provincial budget cut, they've decided to cut our provincial veterinary field services and our veterinary lab as of 2029, I believe. But the field services will end at the end of 2026. And that leaves me and a lot of other backyard farmers that have food sources that they're raising without veterinary care or any medicines that they would usually distribute to us. And it just leaves us in a really bad position. It's going to put people both in hardship financially, and it's going to put people in danger physically trying to treat animals that they don't have experience treating. So I'd like to request that we write a letter to Pat Finnegan, the minister, and let them know how unhappy we are with the cuts.
Is that a motion
That
you
is
make?
a motion.
Heard the motion from Deputy Mayor Greenlaw. Do we have a seconder?
I will second
I will do.
Guys gonna rock, paper, scissors there?
that. I don't know how to play that game.
I think I heard Councillor Toll first, so we'll say she seconded. Question? Councillor Sturgeon?
Yes, Madam Mayor, and I always caution people, I said, just because I'm asking questions doesn't mean that I'm against it, but I'm quite interested in this, and I don't know anything about it because I've never had any big animals, I guess. Anything bigger than a dog, that was it for me, so. I do know that New Brunswick and Newfoundland were the last provinces to have a summer program. And so I'm kind of curious about how it works, for example, because like, my wife's a big fan of the Dr. Pol series, for example, kind of thing, right? But, so, anyway, so, I guess what I'm asking is, I've heard it said that the reason why other vets don't want to do large animals like that is because they don't want to compete against the provincial. So I guess I don't know anything how it works, so if you
Yeah.
could explain it, I'd really appreciate it. That's all.
Contrary to that, the Provincial Vet Services Office actually stopped private vets from treating live large stock in the past 3 or 4 years. There's not very many large animal vets in the province. Very few of them have field services, and if you don't have a trailer to haul your cow or horse or whatever, you're stuck. But yeah, the way that it works with the province is you pay a fee, and it's not a cheap fee. But they were no longer treating horses, pet pigs, sheep, things like that. If you had another veterinarian treating them, they wouldn't treat them. So.
Councillor Turner?
Wasn't this like the total elimination of those services, not just a reduction?
Yeah, it's a total elimination of those services with no time for the private sector to either build those services. And unfortunately, we're going to lose some really, really good large animal vets. And one thing that's interesting is Alberta is reinstating their provincial vet service.
Councillor Turner again.
My understanding too was that it's very hard for large animal vets to have a big enough practice, like in a small area kind of thing, because of the scattered farms and all of that. And that's another part that the provincial vets addressed much more easily. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Because of the farms being so rural, some of the larger operations are way out there. I think the mileage for a single year was 752,000 kilometers that these vets were putting on.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried. 14.8 was the addition. We had another application for donation for the teen club. Sorry. Thanks. It's for a teen night program that one of the local parents has started offering up at the curling club. They've had, I think, relatively decent turnout some nights not as much. I mean, you can, I think we all appreciate how those numbers would be in flux, shall we say. But with the cost of renting the rink, and then they charge like a fee per head, it's been a bit sporadic about covering costs. So they're looking for a little bit of help to offset some of those costs. I think maybe the funds raised to date might be a little bit of a misnomer, simply because I know they've had kids coming in and paying so much ahead, like they are generating money as they're going through. They've reached out, I think, to other parents who are also going to chip in, but their ask of us is for $500 to help offset some of the costs that they're doing. So open that up for conversation. Councillor Valentine.
Isn't this something that the village's recreation director could take over?
I think we had attempted this at one point and did not have the turnout maybe that they're starting to see now. And I don't know whether that was location or timing or what it was. But I also tend to believe with teens, sometimes it's like lightning in a bottle. If you've got something that's working, it either works or it doesn't. So I don't know. I think maybe there's some opportunities for some in-kind contributions there as well from our side that we could help with on that end. But I think for right now, it's it's the actual cost of renting the rink is what they're struggling with right off the bat. So, I talked to Esme just before we started, and there might be, maybe there's some opportunity here in this building that they could look at for space down the road maybe, or something like that, but. Councillor Green? Councillor Turner, sorry.
I was gonna be a gentleman.
I-
Who knew?
I heard Philman before I saw Jane, sorry.
Okay, when they say the rink, they mean the ice facility here or the curling rink? Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Turner?
It seems like doing the 500 right now would be good, but maybe looking at having it under our recreation banner going forward so that there would be like a line item or something that could keep it going, or something
Yeah.
within another part of the recreation budget.
Yeah.
So I think it's something to maybe look at, you know, adjusting so that we can be more helpful, and, you know, maybe Caleb could be part of that, and we could keep it going on a more regular basis.
Anyone else? I know personally, if there's any sort of recreation for teens in particular, it just seems like something that's worthwhile supporting, so. Be looking for a motion from someone to support this.
I'll make that motion.
You heard the motion from Deputy Mayor Greenlaw. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Turner. Question?
What was the motion? I
Just-
heard that motion. Because we said we were gonna max 50% of the requested money, so that would be, the next one is 250 then?
I guess it would be, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just,
It would have to
Yep.
be the same across the board.
Question? We did have a seconder, right? Yes. Yep. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried. All right, 17 is approval to pay invoices. From AJW Mechanical, arena compressors for $23,951.36. C. McLean Heating for the airport generator is $3,829.50. Fleet Ready Limited for the fire department, $1,833.11. Green Energy Supplies for DTI Geordie is $1,174.24. Island Home Hardware, the February statement is $3,998.09. McGinnis Cooper for the RTIPA request, their advice on that was $2,552.31. Sullivan Sales and Service for DTI and for the transfer station, $10,244.38. Sullivan Sales and Service for DTI, $9,756.12. And ALPA for skid steer repairs is $4,959.47.
I move that we pay those invoices from the operating fund.
I'm like, please don't make me read them all again. You heard the motion from Councillor Valentine. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Deputy Mayor Greenlaw. Question?
I do
Councillor.
have a question, Madam Mayor. Sorry, Councillor Green, I didn't realize you went first.
No.
Oh, okay. I am curious about Green Energy Supply DTI Geordie. Any more explanation on that? Is it for the office or anything in that regard?
Just bear with me, I've got the treasurer's notes and bills. It's for F32T8 LED 18 watt 4000K B-pin long life, 36 of them.
Okay.
And freight and the fuel surcharge.
I thought it was a light thought this truck when you started.
Councillor Green?
I had some questions about the repairs for the DTI and skid steer and stuff. If those are, you know, I hope we are keeping track of that, like if that's whatever truck that is, if we've got a piece of apparatus that's building a history of being expensive to upkeep, we
Yeah.
let everyone get a can.
Yeah, absolutely. We have them all in different lines.
No problem.
And the skid steer, I know they're planning to pick up tomorrow, upon payment, so they had to have a fair bit of work done to that, but it's ready to go. And Sullivan. Doesn't specify which vehicle.
That's all right.
But we have all the notes if you wanted to look at the receipts.
Any other questions on the invoices? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried. The next item is closed session. We have 3 items for discussion. 18.1 is financial, the trash barrel tenders. 18.2 is legal, the planning advisory committee, and 18.3 is legal with the building inspector.
I'll make a motion that we go into closed session.
Heard the motion from Deputy Mayor Greenlaw. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councillor Toll. Question? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried.
if it's a BCA fund. Again, I don't like making it this complicated, it hurts my head, but I hope I'm kind of giving you the two paths available to you.
A, you secretly love it, Vern, you know that. B, we don't become lame duck until May 11th. And C, I
Yes.
see Councillor Valentine has a question and then Councillor Green.
Zero.
When you're calculating the size of the building, this building looks like it has a
I'll recall the Village of Graham and Ann regular council meeting back to order. It's 9:15 p.m. We were in closed session to discuss 3 items. The first was financial, the trash barrel tender. Be looking for a motion.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion that we go with the lowest tender with the most experience.
Heard the motion from Councillor Sturgeon. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councillor Valentine. Question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. 18.2, legal for the Planning Advisory Committee. We had some recommendations from the lawyer and some more information to provide, so we are going to follow up on that probably in the coming weeks. And then 18.3 was the addition of the legal for the building inspector, and we are waiting to hear back some information from him, and once we have that, we will render a decision. So, our next and final council meeting of this entity will be on May 4th here at the Community Center at 7:30 p.m. Thank you very much.